Hi everyone, thanks a lot for joining this last Urban AI conversation of the year, of the season, sorry, not of the year. My name is Hubert, I'm the founder of Urban AI. So what is Urban AI? It's a think tank dedicated to the emerging field of urban artificial intelligence, and our specificity is that we are collaborating with a growing community of experts like Robert. But Urban AI is also a space for exchange and debate, and this is why we regularly organize Urban AI conversations during which members of the community can present you the latest research ideas or even contribution. And today, for our 14th Urban AI conversation, we are going to talk about air pollution and machine learning, and trying to better understand how this technology can be used to tackle air pollution and create a healthier city. And to do so, we have the great pleasure to have with us Robert Heinecke, who is the CEO of Breeze Technologies and also an advisor at Urban AI. And we should have very soon Simas, who is lead innovation at the city of Vilnius. So as usual, we will first have 20 minutes, 25 minutes, it depends on presentation from our speakers, and then a Q&A session. So if you have questions in mind, feel free to use the chat, or you can wait for the Q&A session and directly ask your question. Robert, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Hello again, for those of you that I've already spoken to. Very nice to be here. It's a pleasure. I'm particularly glad to be talking today a bit about air pollution and artificial intelligence, and how those two, and particularly the fight against air pollution, are connected. I myself, I'm the founder of Breeze Technologies, a German air pollution or air quality startup. I've been working now for the last 7 years at the interface of the environment, air quality, air pollution in particular, and the fight against it, against the air pollution, as well as then on the other side, technology, leading technologies like the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. And with that startup that I've built in the last 7 years, basically what we're doing there is building air quality sensors, building a cloud applications to analyze these data sets, and then in turn working basically to create a healthier environment together with cities, together with other entities like industry, but also NGOs. And I'm going to share my screen before I forget that. And we can go right into the presentation. So tackling air pollution with urban AI in an approach that I myself like to call environmental intelligence. So basically creating more data about our environment, and then using that data in a smart way to actually do something about any challenges that might be identified. And the first thing I would like to start with is actually talking a little bit about smart cities in general, because I think a common misconception is we have a city, then we throw a couple of sensors on it, we throw some data analytics platforms on it, and then we have a smart city and everything is perfect. And of course, it doesn't work directly that way. So on the one side, smart cities should always be driven by the want to actually create a healthier environment for everybody and a more livable city infrastructure for everybody, and thereby also increase the quality of life for their residents. And that is particularly, I think, worthwhile to talk about if we look at that we have an increasing migration of people into the cities. And I think we've talked about this before in other urban AI meetings, that more and more people are moving into our cities. By 2050, 67% of people are going to live in cities. And just to put that a little bit in context, currently 75% of global emissions are caused by cities. And that by 2050 is going to go up to 80%. So if we look at the people that are living in cities, they are also creating more emissions than their counterparts not living in cities. So because of that kind of ambivalence in environmental impact versus where you're actually living, we definitely need to talk about the environment and the ecosystems in those cities, because if you have so many people living in one space and all causing emissions somehow, by the way, those are numbers from the United Nations, then of course everybody is going to be affected by that. And we need to ensure that people can still breathe clean air, that people still can live their lives normally, and that they are not affected by environmental disasters living in those cities. And talking about a smart city, this is from one of the many frameworks about smart cities that are out there. We're typically talking about a couple of different dimensions: smart governments, digital society transformation, the Internet of Things, livable environment. All these somehow need to be fulfilled or thought of when designing a smart city infrastructure. And today, I want to focus particularly on the Internet of Things and creating a livable environment through data from that Internet of Things, which is what I now have been doing for the last 7 years in the field of air quality. So many of you I've seen in the comments are from France or from Paris in particular. So I think you are familiar with pictures like that. Unfortunately, Paris has been and still somewhat is a hotspot for air pollution. And if we look on a more global scale, 9 out of 10 people globally are living in areas with too high levels of air pollution. And that is shocking, especially if we're talking about the more than 7 million annual deaths that are caused by air pollution, but also the quality of life impact that air pollution has. If you're living closer to a busy road, you have a higher risk of getting dementia. If you are exposed to more air pollution, your fertility is slower. If you have air pollution exposure, then you have a high risk of respiratory diseases, COPD, and other long-term diseases. So definitely a topic of global importance, and we're simply not doing enough against it. And now, talking about where artificial intelligence can help us, there we first need to look at status quo. On the one side, we do not have enough data to actually start thinking about AI in the first place. So this is a picture from Hamburg, where I'm based in Germany, second largest city here. And these have been the typical air pollution monitoring stations that cities have been employing since the 70s or so to monitor air quality levels. And you can see they're SUV sized, which is, I think, a quite fitting comparison, but also prohibitively expensive if you want to roll them out throughout your whole city. So what has been typically happening is that cities have only been measuring in just a few places how air quality actually looks like, and then just basically take those few places as references to think, okay, it will be probably pretty similar in the rest of the cityscape. And now we are talking about an emergence of new ways of monitoring air quality, like, for instance, lower cost, small scale sensors that can help us to measure in many more places than previously was possible. And then actually using that data also to fuel artificial intelligences to make sense of it and to analyze it also in conjunction with other data, like, for instance, traffic data sets. I mentioned I founded Breeze Technologies. We developed sensors like that. They are able to basically measure all the different parameters that the big monitoring stations are also able to measure, like local climate, temperature and humidity, TRH, and then local air pollutants like CO, carbon monoxide, CO2, carbon dioxide, PM, particulate matter in different sizes. Typically, we talk about 10 micrometers, 2.5 micrometers, ozone, O3, nitrogen monoxide, NO, nitrogen dioxide, NO2, ammonia, NH3, volatile organic compounds, VOCs, and then sulfur dioxide, SO2. And the big new thing there is that we actually, and I realize this is a very complicated slide, but bear with me, that typically, if we look at these big bulky monitoring stations, and you see that in like darker gray colors on the top of the slide, there we were relying in the past on a lot of manual processes to calibrate the data, to go there, collect samples, drive them to a laboratory, then also process the data afterwards manually. And then often we're talking about weeks or even months until you have a verified data set available to further use, either to disseminate to citizens or to use in urban planning. And with AI-based and cloud-based calibration, we're able to reduce that whole data quality and plausibility process to basically microseconds, make the data available in real time, and then be able to actually use it also for other use cases in real time, like for instance, smart traffic measurement, traffic management, like urban planning, like community information, and so on. And that, for the first time, provides us basically with an approach that we call environmental intelligence, where we have ubiquitous air quality data sets available that can basically see, where you can see everywhere how does air quality look like, and then you can use that information for further use cases. And as a digital tool, it's available through dashboards, UIs, graphs, charts, etc., whatever you want. But I think much more important than that is if you make those data sets available to urban planners, to mobility managers, but also to the general population, then by creating that transparency, you also start enabling change, because people start to care more about air pollution in their neighborhood. And that can help you to facilitate momentum, to put together an ecosystem around the fight for better air quality in your city. And that is definitely connected to societal impact, and also definitely connected to 8 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, because all of these are somehow related to air pollution and cleaner air in our cities. There's a lot of things that you can then do with that data afterwards. I already mentioned traffic management. You can use it for climate protection. You can use it for marketing of different communities. You can use it in other smart city applications. I think Simas is going to tell more about what the city of Vilnius is doing in that sense. And just the last idea, or the last tidbit that I want to leave you with, is that I think that with the emergence of more data sets and more air quality data becoming more and more available also through our APIs for the public, we're also going to see that other industries, for instance, real estate, sports, tourism, etc., are going to start caring more about air quality as an environmental dimension, and start to use it somehow also in their apps in ways that are currently not even thinkable, or that we currently don't think about yet. And I am currently publishing actually a series of blog posts also on that, on our blogs at Breeze Technologies. So for instance, I think 2 weeks ago, we did sports. This week we did real estate. So if that sounds interesting to you, then you can also definitely check that out. Here on the bottom, you have my email address, robert@breeze-technologies.de. If you have any ideas, please feel free to reach out. And otherwise, I'll now stop talking and hand off to Simas to continue to tell about what exciting things the city of Vilnius is doing with air quality sensors and air quality data. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I will try to share my screen. Okay. Good. So my name is Simas, and I don't know, explain, or I will talk with you about the one side about our intelligent Vilnius city brain, because we have some short time for that, and I will focus on air pollution solutions, what we are working on now. And Vilnius city have 3 main KPIs which measuring and understand city dynamics. It's a happiness index, travel time index, and life expectancy. Of course, these 3 KPIs, for these 3 KPIs, we have thousands of KPIs what we're measuring, but all these KPIs, it goes to this 3, and this the basic ones which monitoring our management. Our goal is to create a city ecosystem where the data connects all the people, business, institutions, and everything. So we have a lot of done already, but we still have also place where we have to work on. The main thing is go from the bottom to top or from the top to the bottom. It's, you know, to understand and to plan all our how to say, development, planning, and services according to our citizen needs. You always have to focus on your citizens, on their well-being, understand how they feel, and here is a target that they won't feel that some services is missing or somewhere you need to do, you know, they just cannot feel that services is absent here. And if we focus to the air pollution and air quality, the air quality and air pollution, you have a lot of, how to say, complex connections with all the city life, all the city dynamics. It's a health, it's open places, it's how you're planning traffic, it's how you're organizing your traffic, it's how the center or other districts works on. So, and of course, the services, to provide the services, how to say, condition-based services, because now we just have a plans where you have to do something, but a lot of time, me by myself, like a citizen, I saw that after the rain, somebody, you know, taking a water to the flowers. So they just have a plan and they just make their job. So it's the same with the cleaning of the roads. Of course, if you react to the air pollution, it takes some time because you get a call, then you have to register, then you can go and check what is happening. But at this time, you can see nothing because it's just was in the past. So what we did, okay, I will come down. Of course, we are measuring in Vilnius City happiness index. There are about 10 sensors installed. Most of them is installed in the Vilnius City Center, and we're measuring all the time how people react to some events, to the weather conditions, to the environmental changes. And of course, we installed the sensors also in our municipality building and did some tests. We put a smell like a coffee. We put nice pictures on the entrance, and we saw that the happiness index, it's, you know, dramatically increased. So it's the very simple thing, but in our case, we also believe that the air quality or a lot of things making this index, you know, increasing and decreasing. The other case, what we've done also, it's like an environmental issue. We install artificial beach in the center palace, and then we measure how the people feel here. We measure the emotions of the people, and we got the big difference between when you asking people in somewhere in the city and they're telling you their opinion about this, I don't know, innovation or not innovation, just like the vision to do something not in the simple way. And we saw that the people who's passing this beach and who is in this beach, the emotions is completely different from this what you are giving a questionnaire. Of course, we are measuring all the beaches in Vilnius, and we're trying to understand what impact have environment, maybe weather, maybe services, and then trying to understand and collect these data sets where we have to look there to see this happiness index increasing more and more. So regarding air quality impact, we know a lot of things which have negative impact for the human well-being. So there is some of them. I think there is more. And now, together, of course, with Robert, we installed breeze sensors in Vilnius Center. We install the other sensors in Vilnius to see how Vilnius looks like, because we have this government stations, but we don't understand the dynamics of our air quality. So now in Vilnius is 34 sensors of the air quality. 24 of them are measuring only particular matters, and 10 these innovative sensors from the breeze, they're measuring all the parameters what is, I think, can be measured. And data is collected in the artificial intelligence platform. They are aggregated and gives us a lot of insights. Here is the application. What we sorry, try to. What we've done and where we integrate, you see my screen with application?
Yes. Sorry, Simas?
Yeah? Okay.
Yes, we're okay. Yeah, we're
okay.
Good.
So we create an application, integrate all the sensors to this application to have a simple view for the citizens, where it's all visual, how to say, data is provided, and there are no any complex graphs, analytics, or something else. It's just a representation of the real time, and of course, the Sodys in Lithuanian, we do not have a translation yet in English. So it's real time as it is. It's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and that is everywhere is like an index. These are calculations. The main thing was that this particular matter sensors, which is only measuring particular matters, we installed near the education institutions. So near the children's gardens or schools, to give them real-time data to understand what is happening. Because what we are getting from our governmental institutions, after past 2 days, we're just getting information that, it was increasing the particular matter, something like that. Now we have another situation. We can share this with everybody and everybody can react. And even now, our environmental agency and department wants also to share this, our experience, Vilnius experience, with the other cities in Lithuania to show how they also now believe that is a very good play, very good case. Of course, we have some conversation with them, and they say that our application will scare the people. You will get a lot of call or something like that. So nothing, 2 months and nothing. And the only comments was that, you need to clean the routes, because now after winter time, it's a lot of particular matter. And if you will clean, everything will be okay. So we know that. And now we're providing this data for our service providers who must to clean these routes, and they also monitoring, and when they get data that it's increasing in some part of the city, they immediately go and clean these things. Now about the breeze sensors. Breeze sensors is more intelligent. They provide us more data, and it's installed in the Vilnius center, in the old town, and in the part where is a lot of. It's also center, but the place where the private small old houses is located. And we start to monitor our air quality in this winter, and we saw a lot of interesting things. You know, we never thought that we have such a kind of pollutions like a T-Vogue. We just excluded now because it's very high, and we're just looking for the I don't know, pollution source, what it makes like that. But for us now, it's also, you know, a very good tool to understand our city, what we never know about that. So you can see here all the graphs also visible for the human eyes for the 24 hours for 1 week. You can filter the data and see much more, let's say, detailed. And you can also make some investigations, but not very deep, but for the citizens it's okay. So here is the thing, how we want now manage with the education institutions, service providers, also traffic management, I will show you later, and also with the health institutions. So in except this, we also have three-pole monitoring. We integrate also here the three-pole monitoring station. Wait a minute, yeah. And we monitor Tripolen also in Vilnius city in 50 kilometers round. It's very interesting because we see that Tripolen it starts to come to Lithuania in the January, in the middle of the January, when we have snow here, so it comes from the Europe. It's also very good information for the citizens who has an allergy, and for the health institutions to understand when this allergy, how to say, peak is can come or it's already coming. Why? It's better to understand. So, and what I do not show, but also you can use this address. It's just only in Lithuanian. You can also see the heat map of the particular, how to say, pollution, to see how it's big. For example, now we have particular matter. It's in some places it's bigger, in another places it's quite good. So what I want to show here, the next thing, what we're doing now with our traffic management, and it's directly related with the air pollution. Now we start a project to make mobility picture of the city. And we will use here a lot of data. We will use car sharing data, mobile operator data, drone data, where we're collecting videos and then aggregating with the artificial intelligence. We want to understand how the city and why they choose such a route. Why they choosing, for example, school, I don't know, 10 kilometers from their home. If they near the home, they have also a school or something. The other services like health and other things. So now is the initial stage. I cannot tell you a lot about this. We have vision how to do this. We have requirements. So maybe in this year we will have in the autumn some results already, because we're working on already. So we just have to put in one place and to make an algorithm to calculate everything. And the last thing that we also is the prototype of our ecosystem. So everything now is connected to the one system. We have 10 service streams in Vilnius. It's economic, education, administrative, energetic, and so on and so on. And here we already monitoring a lot of interesting things, like you have 15 persons like citizens older than 64 years, that in this kind of the district you do not have any I don't know center where the people can make some activities or something like that. So it's just one example. I cannot open this link. You can try it because my computer is blocking this link. I don't know why. For all others it works, but it's just a prototype, and we're now adding a lot of data. You also see here in the left corner, here is also our intelligent city lines. It's the sensors also integrated. And it's only integrated like a link, but we will integrate also inside all the data sets where we will see it will need to be integrated. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for this very insightful presentation, Robert and Simas. It was really very complementary to first see the technology and then the use cases. So really thanks for this. We already have several questions in the chat. By the way, you can directly ask your question if you want, like open your micro and your camera. Don't be shy. But we have a first question from Pascal Obino, who is asking for you, Simas. Vilnius is a city which is using mass. Did you use the mass info from Trafi with Breeze?
If I understand correctly, we have care sharing, yes. Mass. It's a mobility as a service.
Exactly, yeah, mobility as a service. I think that, yeah.
No, in fact, yeah. If I can explain my question a bit better, thank you, Hubert, for the presentation, by the way, and all the effort you put on Urban AI. Simas, in fact, my question is that, for example, when you see there is a bad air quality, are you going to ask Trafi and the mobility engine to do calculation the route to say, please don't recommend this transport, or don't recommend this transport because the air quality is bad? So for example, when Trafi is going to say, okay, first you have to walk, then you have to take a bus, then you have to take a car, something like that, you can say, please don't take a bus, but please use a bike or something like that. It's a kind of correlation between the two.
Not yet, but what I also explained in the end of my presentation, we're starting with this mobility picture. We will calculate each day, and we will see how it correlates with the other data. So the air pollution also will be connected here, I'm completely sure. What we're doing, like you say, don't choose the car, take a bike. The fuel prices is increasing, so there are no other choices.
Okay.
I saw, by the way, I saw in one petrol station in Germany that they, you know, put on this screen where the price of the fuel is located at the bike and is free of charge. Something like that. Use bike, 0,
Yes.
0.
Very good point. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, and that's a very interesting point. We had actually a urban conversation on the topic of mobility as a service 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and it was one of the use cases that appeared during this presentation. Robert, do you know other cities that maybe are using your data for such for such use? For such
I mean,
strategy?
Vilnius is really a front runner there. We actually looked at here in the city of Hamburg, we ourselves looked at, for instance, correlations between traffic flow and air quality data, and we published a white paper on that. It's very complex to do, so we actually ourselves, because we didn't have the buy-in for the city, from the city for that here, we did it only for one district, but we definitely found very high correlation in certain hotspots and low correlation in other areas actually. But just to give one example, there was actually a temporary pedestrian zoning that was implemented along a couple of roads, and we definitely saw that air pollution levels there were like half as high or even lower than in other areas of the city at the same time. So you can see a measurable impact of all the different mobility changes, planning changes that you're doing with the city. And yeah, I expect that's going to be an approach that is going to be used also in the future for more cities. If we look internationally, of course, I know London is doing some stuff in that area. I think Austin in Texas or some other US cities are also experimenting. So there are some examples, but it's still very much a kind of new technology. In the last 5-10 years, we've seen smart city applications that have been very siloed. So like the mobility people have just been focusing on their mobility stuff, the air quality people just doing the air quality stuff. And now slowly the technology has matured enough that we're actually getting into that kind of interrelational integration level that we need to actually be able to use the data in a more systemic approach.
Okay, that's interesting. We have a question from Antoine for Simas. How do you make sure that you impact of your AI projects on one of your 3 main KPIs?
Yeah, maybe I can rephrase the question. Thanks, Hubert and Simas and Robert for the presentation. I find it super interesting that you define at the beginning of your presentation, Simas, the 3 main KPIs of the Vilnius Smart City. And I was wondering how you were measuring the impact of the tools that you presented after on those 3 main KPIs. For instance, did you measure any impact on Breeze technology on one of those three main KPIs?
Okay. So I just mentioned these 3 KPIs. The sensors, what is installed is only 2 months about, you know. It's a new thing for us. We're just analyzing now what's happening, you know, and trying to understand. So it's not connected directly now, but we see that it must be connected, and we will do this in the future. Because now what is done, it's only, you know, this written forms or registered things, what is appearing from the citizens, like it's a bad air quality, yes? And you're getting maybe 100 this request per, I don't know, 1 month. So it comes and in the calculation of the KPIs. So all these KPIs is calculated and connected, and then it comes to this 3 main KPIs. Mm-hmm. So we want to automate now this thing, and we believe that we decrease this request from the citizens because they will have information. We have information. We can, you know, order services or check the pollutants or see that, how to say, see the continuous, I don't know, events in some places, and then we can react and, how to say, ensure that citizens do not feel this anymore. And then also what I show, the other things is connected. Happiness index sensors and all others. It's, it's a complex of the KPIs which comes to this three. But this one about air pollution, I'm sure it will be connected to a lot of things.
Thank you.
We have a question from Afid. Afid, do you want to directly ask your question? Yeah, okay.
Thank you, everyone. I think you mentioned it during the presentation, but I couldn't follow everything. But my question was, does this new data help better understanding the sources of pollution in the city? Because I think maybe before these sensors, you had statistics, data already maybe imperfect on pollution, on air quality. And I was wondering how these new sensors helped maybe understanding better if some ideas were some new insights came from this new data.
Okay, I'll explain. Normally, we do not have any other sources except this for governmental stations. And these governmental stations and the systems, it do not have any API where you can download the data and make some statistics or analyzation or something like that, okay? So we just can see that there is a index for 24 hours. What sense it makes for us, we don't know, because now what we see, in the morning, in some hours, we see in some places, the sum of the pollutants is increasing. In other, not, So we have to understand, maybe, or check the place. We also have, map with all the works, what's happening, etc. So maybe there is, I don't know, they are building some buildings. In the morning, somebody maybe just starts this old-fashioned car, something like that. So now we see the continuous events, we're analyzing, but still, which I said we have installed sensors just for 2 months. And I don't know, Robert, say, I think 2 or 3 months, I don't remember. But
yeah, I think as you say, Simas, like more insights into that will come also with a longer implementation period. And of course, also from laying other data sets on top of the air quality data. Just speaking from experience, we did one project with an environmental NGO in a port area, and there we also aggregated wind and weather data, as well as then also ship movement data, which is also publicly available. It's called AIS. And then using these data sources, you could actually see that when a ship was passing by one of the sensors and you had the wind that actually was going towards that sensor, you could see the peak in pollution, right? And then if you have sensors also further into the city, you can see, okay, how does that actually distribute throughout the whole cityscape? In other cases, what we're doing in California and the US, for instance, is actually doing the other way around. We're using real-time air quality data to identify likely locations for emerging wildfires, and then sending out first responders to go out and control them before they spread too far. So I think once you start establishing that kind of ground truth, the data in the first place, then you're also going to find more ways with other data sources, how you can actually effectively use it to identify sources, and then also to control or to optimize other dimensions of running and operating a city.
And one more thing, when we just published this application publicly 2 weeks ago, and now we have a request to install more sensors here. So, now companies are coming, also the citizens, we also want to make this initiative, public. Maybe some citizens want to also install the sensors here, or companies which also, want to share their green, I don't know, things that they do not making any pollution or something like that. So it's coming already.
Maybe a follow-up question, if I can, on these new data, on those new demands that you're mentioning. Will you have maybe mobile sensors? Because what I understand is that mostly your sensors are fixed. Is there an idea of adding mobile sensors? Is it relevant for you in this sense, or how do you see the mobile?
I will explain. I think Robert also can tell this. You know, this sensors is located. Is located near each other. It's around half a kilometer from each other, something like that. 1.5 kilometers, something like that. We talk about mobile sensors we want to install on the car sharing cars, electric car sharing cars, and maybe to collect more. But this small mobile sensors, it's you know, I don't know how much we can trust on it, maybe for our use only, but not for the public things, because if you want to mount the mobile sensor, it will be also big, yes, if you will mount just some, because you can just give for the citizen who is walking just to have here, or put on the car, some small things, but it's, I think, just for the internal users. But what we will do, so how I say, we will increase the sensors in the Vilnius city, and it will be here like Robert showed the picture. You know, there is a lot of dots in the city. So then it will be, you know, the thing that you not need this mobile sensors or something. It's very, I think it's much more trusted data than they, you know, mounted for in the how to say, in the frame of requirements, because our also environmental agency asks us a lot of time in which you know, height, something like that. They always checking the methodics and something like that. So then we explain that everything is according to the methodics, so everything. So then they, you know, just like hands like that and say, okay, we trust your data, and they like it. So I don't know. We talk about this before, but now we see that no, maybe we not choose this mobile sensors.
And I applaud that approach because, I mean, while it's, you know, it's good to use new technologies to optimize or to get new data and to optimize city operations, etc. But we always need to be considerate also somehow about the legal frameworks in which we're moving. And in Europe, we have the 2008/50 EC, which is one of the European Commission's or European Union's directives, specifically on air quality control and air quality measurements. And they are saying things like, okay, if you have a sensor, it needs to be off the road in a certain distance, also a certain distance from intersections. It needs to be on a certain height installed, so the data is comparable. And you know, recreating that is going to be impossible if you actually put it on a car on the road, because you're not, well, you cannot really control that anymore where you are, and you're not able to fulfill that. So there are definitely some use cases, I think, where it might make sense to put sensors on vehicles or give it in the hands of citizens. But especially if you're talking about like cities using it to plan things or to communicate it officially, then as Simas said, it makes much more sense to use stationary sensors for that, where you can specifically control where they are placed, and you can fulfill these legal requirements, at least until also the legislation maybe somehow changes a little bit and makes it becomes more flexible to use also data from other sources.
Thanks, Robert and Simas. Very quickly, maybe because we only have a few minutes left. Simas, you say that more and more like companies, citizens are asking for such air quality data. And sometimes it is also what can be called, you know, kind of data activism. So the fact that you will ask data to push some policies, to push some strategies. And I was wondering, Robert, do you have in your clients some communities or some, I don't know, associations or is it only public authorities, cities, etc.?
Well, I mean, I mentioned earlier this project, for instance, the port of in a port. We did that together with an environmental NGO called NABU, which is similar, for instance, to Greenpeace or other environmental NGOs. And we also worked with foundations in the past. For instance, with one foundation, we outfitted the schoolyards of several schools, and then the students were also able to use that information in their science classes, which makes it much more touchable and tangible to, you know, if they learn about pollution and smog and all of that. And some feedback that we got there was actually that also the parents got more involved in asking from their local representatives, hey, we need to do something about the air pollution in our city, and particularly in their neighborhoods. So definitely, I think that the fight against air pollution is going to be only won if all the different stakeholders, cities, and even higher government institutions, but then also local communities, NGOs, and even private businesses, if they get together and work on curbing pollution in the end.
Okay,
thanks. Really, thanks. Oh, sorry. Yes, go on.
I want to also mention one very, important thing, that Vilnius City is sharing their data for free. So all the data, now it's in open API, so everybody can connect, download this data. They can, play with this data. They can make some, I don't know, things, lab or something, and we just provide this data to understand more, because when they are playing, they're giving us insights what we have to also, see. So by using citizens, smart citizens who are able to do this, and we're also getting some feedback here.
That's really great. Not just to have open data, but to make it accessible to all the people, all the citizens, and to empower communities. That's really, really super interesting. That's already the end of this urban AI conversation. And actually, this is also this was the last episode of the season 2. Thanks a lot, Robert and Simas, for your presentation, for taking the time to answer all the questions. Thanks to all of you for attending this urban AI conversation. The recording will be very soon available on our YouTube channel, so the link is available on the chat. The season 3 should be launched in maybe 1 or 2 months, and in the meantime, I encourage you to read maybe our articles on our Medium blog, and to see the previous episodes if you didn't have the opportunity to do so. Have a very, very good day, and see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Hi, bye.
Thank you, bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Good day.